Is it the end of Hollywood? The industry's most warned strike. Hollywood is experiencing one of its worst nightmares as the Hollywood Actors Union has officially gone on strike. That's right, and this is something that hasn't happened since 1980. All movies currently being filmed have just been put on hold, but it doesn't stop there. Casting processes, premieres, conventions, interviews, and social media posts by actors to promote their projects are all affected as well. Officially, almost the entire Hollywood industry has come to a standstill. Could this crisis have been avoided? Will companies be able to set aside their pride and give these workers the recognition they deserve? The last time we witnessed something like this was for significant reasons, back in 2020 when COVID-19 protocols forced the industry to halt operations, resulting in millions in losses, chaos in movie release dates, and numerous production delays. However, let me tell you that this issue is not new. In fact, since 2021, we've heard many workers complaining about the working conditions they endure on set. And yes, discussions about strikes, problems, and the impact of artificial intelligence have already been circulating. But in reality, this problem has deeper roots and could have severe consequences for the future of the industry. So get comfortable because I'm going to explain why the actors' strike is more severe than you might think. On one side, we have the screenwriters and actors unions, and on the other side, we have the Alliance of Film and Television Producers. This problem has primarily arisen due to a significant factor: how much the entertainment industry has changed thanks to streaming platforms and major technological advancements. However, could this be the very thing that has brought the industry to its knees? As you may recall, screenwriters were the first to go on strike as they'd been negotiating new working conditions since last year, aiming for better pay and more employment security. With the rise of the streaming system for TV series, many of which consist of fewer than 12 episodes, production companies are refusing to hire these writers as staff writers, meaning they're not guaranteed a steady position. The union argues that screenwriting has become increasingly freelance, and there's also a lack of transparency regarding the commissions they receive for successful series or movies on streaming platforms. Different companies with streaming platforms do not disclose all the information about ratings or the success of a production. For instance, the creator of the Squid Game mentioned that he only received enough to barely cover his living expenses, and many screenwriters don't receive even 5% of the royalties from their creations. Is that fair? I don't think so. Moreover, it's been reported that major studios are considering using artificial intelligence to generate scripts more quickly, which would require screenwriters to review and make minor changes. Consequently, there's uncertainty about how this situation could impact their salaries. We witnessed a similar issue during the pandemic. Let's remember that Scarlett Johansson sued Disney because she wasn't informed that Black Widow would be released simultaneously on Disney Plus and in theaters, which would affect her box office earnings. At the end of the day, it seems that the big players can do as they please with their companies, right? And when Warner Brothers announced its 2021 strategy, hundreds of actors, including Denzel Washington and Will Smith, demanded to renegotiate their contracts. Moreover, Christopher Nolan was so offended by this situation that he severed his long-standing relationship with the company. On the actors' union side, in addition to demanding higher pay and better conditions, actors are deeply concerned about how companies might utilize and manipulate their image and voice with artificial intelligence without having to involve them in new projects, provide further opportunities, or compensate them for the use of their image. This is a worrisome prospect as it could significantly impact job opportunities. In fact, there are rumors suggesting that producers have agreed to increase extras' salaries to $265 per day, but want to retain perpetual rights to their image. This would enable them to replicate extras digitally in different productions without needing to rehire them. As a result, one could be an extra in a Hollywood movie, appear in the background, and the studio would have the ability to remove, copy, digitally recreate, and then place them in another science fiction movie, space setting, Rome, prison, or any other location. This is precisely where Hollywood could encounter problems. With these two sides at odds, negotiations have reached an impasse. While writers and actors are demanding salary increases and recognition in the face of advancing technology, such as the use of artificial intelligence, the studios are staunchly refusing and offering low counteroffers. Currently, it seems that the negotiations have stalled. However, it's important to note that this is not the first time such a situation has arisen. The roots of this strike trace back to previous conflicts. In 1980, actors went on strike for 3 months and 3 days due to the introduction of VCRs. They demanded commissions on movies rebroadcast on televisions and VHS sales. The studios refused their demands, arguing that only 2% of the United States population owned a VCR. In 2007, screenwriters went on strike during the emergence of streaming platforms. Writers were concerned about the impact of online content, fearing that major studios would reduce the number of writers hired for series, resulting in significantly lower salaries compared to the traditional television model. The strike lasted 3 months and had a substantial impact on the entertainment industry and the U.S. economy. Judging by the current situation, the current strike could potentially have even graver consequences. During that time, the economy of the state of California suffered a collapse, resulting in a loss of $2.1 billion, with the city of Los Angeles alone experiencing a loss of $2.5 billion due to the shutdown. Both regions are vital hubs for Hollywood movie production, so the local economy was significantly impacted by the halt. Although the exact number is unknown, it's estimated that around 38,000 jobs were lost. Additionally, the full extent of the impact on individuals indirectly associated with the industry, such as catering services, trailer rentals, clothing, and tourism, has not been thoroughly analyzed. The strike's impact was evident in the delay of films like Impossible 8, and Disney made the decision to postpone its entire slate of Marvel films. Productions such as Beetlejuice, Andor, Gladiator 2, Widget, and the new Paddington are also likely to experience delays or announce a pause in development. While an exact figure is unavailable, it's apparent how it's affected the quality of certain films. For instance, in the case of Quantum of Solace, the lack of screenwriters led members of the production, including Daniel Craig, to rewrite parts of the script. This poses a significant problem in the long run when an actor takes on the risk of rewriting the script they're meant to solely act in. We have unquestionably reached a tipping point. At the conclusion of the screenwriter strike in 2007, the studios committed to hiring union writers and agreed to provide them with a percentage of profits from licensing and distribution. However, animation writers were excluded from this agreement, forcing them to continue working despite being one of the industries hardest hit by the crisis, resulting in significant layoffs. Furthermore, no agreement was reached regarding subscription-based streaming services, which didn't exist at the time. In 2022, Paramount announced that it had invested $1.5 billion in its streaming platform, the same amount raised by Top Gumball, which was hailed as the great survivor of cinema. However, a year later in 2023, the company's debt increased to $500 million as the platform continued to lose money. Taking another example, Disney Plus is projected to become profitable by 2024, but Wall Street analysts are uncertain. In February 2023, the platform reported a loss of 2.4 million subscribers, and it was acknowledged that relying heavily on the platform during the pandemic had backfired. According to analysts, the Marvel series diluted the audience's interest in the cinematic universe and taught viewers that they could wait for Pixar movies to arrive on the platform. It turned out that streaming was not the goldmine the major studios had envisioned, despite having already invested billions of dollars into it. So, David set out to save $3 billion, while Bob Iger pledged to cut Disney's expenses by $5 billion. As a result, there were massive layoffs, with thousands of people losing their jobs, and a wave of show and movie cancellations and delays across all Hollywood studios. In addition to the challenges posed by the pandemic, these companies have had to grapple with the realization that streaming is costly and may not yield the expected results. Consequently, Paramount is in the process of laying off 25% of its television division, which amounts to approximately 6,000 job cuts in a single decision. Disney's taken similar measures, with plans to lay off 7,000 employees in 2023. On another note, both Disney Plus and HBO Max have canceled new productions such as Willow and Aquaman, King of Atlantis. At this point, it remains uncertain what will happen to the commissions of the writers and actors who were involved in these projects. These developments have undoubtedly intensified tensions between workers and distributors, with workers becoming more vocal about the working conditions they face on sets. Alec Baldwin's accident on the set of Rust and KG Appa's revelations about working 16-hour days on the set of Riverdale were significant topics of discussion last year, as they exposed negligence and abuses within these productions. Despite the critical situation, striking workers have faced criticism for being perceived as unrealistic in their demands and for failing to understand the state of the industry, which will suffer significant consequences. Estimates suggest that this strike could result in a loss of $4 billion for the Hollywood industry. However, other data indicates that in the past 5 years, top Hollywood executives earned an average of $498 million, which is 384 times more than what a non-famous screenwriter earns. This raises a debate. Will these executives be willing to listen to their workers? The new working model introduced by streaming has led to shorter series with fewer episodes, and many of them are fully scripted and can continue development without major obstacles. Figures such as Netflix's CEO stated prior to the strike that the company was prepared to deal with it, while Paramount's CEO, Backish, mentioned that it would be a while before audiences would notice the impact of the strike. As a result, analysts estimate that this strike could indeed be lengthy. In the past, a 100-day strike, such as the one in 2007, had disastrous consequences for the studios. However, this time it appears that the workers are the ones who will be most affected. There are rumors suggesting that the studios will delay negotiations with the workers until around October or November, assuming that the economic impact on the workers' pockets would be more significant during that time, potentially making them less demanding. One major concern in the industry is the impact of artificial intelligence. While there is widespread belief that machines will eventually replace actors and write scripts on their own, the urgent need is to regulate how AI interacts with copyright issues. For example, if a writer is paid by Warner Brothers for a script and then the studio decides to use it as a basis for an AI to create another story or use it in some other way, would the original writer have rights to the new product, or would they have no authority over it? Moreover, if a new screenwriter is hired to work on the output of that AI, how would the artist's royalties and commissions be determined? Both sides are currently uncertain about the answers to these questions. However, Fran Drescher, known for her role as Nanny Fine, also happens to be the president of the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG. She emphasizes that they understand the weight and consequences of the strike, but they must take a stand against labor abuses because it's about the rights of hundreds of thousands of people. She commends the incredible solidarity shown by the cast of Oppenheimer, who moved up the London premiere to support the strike. Emily Blunt left a premiere with Cillian Murphy as soon as the walkout began, and Xolo Maridueña expressed solidarity by refusing to promote his movie Blue Beetle. It's not yet known how and when this strike will end, but it will certainly go down in history as one of the moments that will define how we understand artificial intelligence, working conditions, and art in the future. The important thing now is to see how it develops and who joins this strike to make it stronger. What do you think about this issue? Will we see the glory of this industry again, or is this the beginning of its decline? Let us know in the comments, and if you like this story, click subscribe for more.